Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the York County Regular School Board meeting for January 25th, 2021. We are looking forward to a positive year ahead, continuing to provide our students with safe and excellent instruction as we navigate through the challenges. I appreciate the opportunity to serve as the board chair, and I thank my fellow board members for their support. I would like to mention that in addition to our YCSD TV channels, our meeting is being live streamed on YouTube this evening as well. And I would also like to read the mission statement of YCSD. The mission of the York County School Division is to engage all students in acquiring the skills and knowledge needed to make productive contributions in the world. Next, we're going to move on to our pledge leader, Preston Mabey, a 5th grade student from Bethel Manor Elementary. Bethel Manor Elementary is proud to introduce our pledge leader, Preston Mabey. Preston is a 5th grade student and has been a Bethel Manor Eagle since kindergarten. Preston's favorite subject is math, and he loves learning new things. He especially loves virtual learning days so he can participate in Pajama Day. I think we need a Pajama Day for one of our meetings here, too. Preston is a talented baseball player and plays for both York County Little League and on the travel team, the Hampton Roads Hurricanes. His favorite position is to play is third base. He also enjoys video games and playing outside with friends in his free time. At Bethel Manor, Preston is known for his kind heart and hardworking attitude. He is respectful to both adults and peers and can always be relied upon to do the right thing. Bethel Manor is truly honored to have Preston represent our school and community and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand as Preston leads us in our pledge.
I'm Preston May from Bethel Manor. Please stand up to do a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was a wonderful job, Preston. Thank you very much for leading us in our pledge. We're going to move on to our recognitions and awards, and we're going to start with our Seniors of the Month. Mr. Schaefer for Bruton High School.
Bruton's Senior of the Month for January 2021 is Laura Riley. She's the daughter of Stephen and Nancy Riley. Laura Riley is an outstanding scholar at Bruton High School. She has received the highest academic award each year. She is a member of the Key Club, Future Business Leaders of America, and the Girl Scouts of America. Laura has participated in the School of the Arts, field hockey, and varsity tennis at Bruton. She has successfully completed over 11 advanced placement courses and is currently attending the Governor's School for Science and Technology. Laura loves history and math. Laura has received numerous accolades over the past 4 years, including the President's Volunteer Service Award, York County School Division Student Service Award, President's Award for Educational Excellence, the Girl Scout Bronze Award, the Girl Scout Silver Award, first place in the Regional Governor's Challenge in Economics and Personal Finance, second place in Future Business Leaders of America Colonial Regional Introduction to Finance Math, and first place FBLA Colonial Region Business Calculations. Laura is interested in studying history or math. We found out today history is number 1 for her. In college next fall. We're proud of Laura's accomplishments, and we look forward to her continued success. She has been accepted at Virginia Tech and George Mason. She is waiting to hear from VCU, UVA, William & Mary, and Harvard, and she wants to major in history. Congratulations, Laura. Good job.
Our next Senior of the Month is from Grafton High School, Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Higginbotham, and it's my pleasure to introduce Grafton's Senior of the Month, and it's Aiden Smog. His parents are Michelle and Nishawn Smog. We had the opportunity today to visit his home, and he was not aware that he had been selected as Senior of the Month, so it was a surprise for him. So it was wonderful to put the sign in his yard and give him the certificate and those presentations to him. And his sister was also there. She's a 9th grader at Grafton. But it's with great pride that we recognize Aiden Smog as Grafton's January Senior of the Month. He has always presented himself in a friendly manner and focused on his academics and future goals. He is a very bright and mature student who exhibits a positive attitude and a sense of seriousness about his education. Aiden participates in various activities both in and out of school. He has great interpersonal skills and proves to be a leader no matter what he's involved in. He is a member of the History Honor Society, Leaders Club, and volunteers at the Smithsonian and Hampton Roads Food Shelter. Aiden has also participated as a member of the Grafton varsity indoor-outdoor track and varsity football teams. He enjoys working with others and building positive friendships. Teamwork is very important to him, and he believes that the relationships he has built with his family, friends, classmates, and teachers have contributed to his success as a student and as an individual. Aiden is self-driven, goal-oriented, and hardworking. During his academic career at Grafton, he has taken honors and advanced placement courses, and because of his determination and commitment to succeed, he has earned an overall GPA of 4.21, while also receiving awards for highest honors. Aiden is a student that embraces what Grafton stands for by approaching activities with a positive attitude, acting with integrity, and looking for ways to use his leadership skills to help find solutions. We are so proud of Aiden and his accomplishments and honored to call him Grafton's Senior of the Month. Congratulations, Aiden.
And Mr. Might, I believe you're going to tell us about the Tab High School
You
Senior
betcha.
of
I'm
the Month.
delighted to introduce the Tab High School Senior of the Month for January, and it's Esther Sun. Esther is a nationally commended scholar with an impressive work ethic. Her determination to succeed is extensive, and Esther balances a demanding workload with her school and community involvement with ease. Academically, Esther is ranked in the top 1% of her class. She has completed the most rigorous program of studies available in a nearly effortless manner. Esther is one of the top students at the Governor's School of Science and Technology and selects only the most talented students from 8 schools across our region. She has never received less than an A in her classroom studies, and she was recently inducted into the National Honor Society. Esther has been involved in many sports and clubs and has received numerous awards. She is on the varsity volleyball team at TAB and hopes to participate in intramural volleyball while at college. In addition to sports, Esther participated in the debate club and is a current member of the Beta Club, Mu Alpha Theta, Science and National Honor Society, and the Student Council Association. Esther has shown comfort in leadership positions and is currently the Vice President of the Science National Honor Society and Treasurer of the SCA Executive Board. Her passion is science, and during her sophomore year, she earned the Tab High School Outstanding Science Student for the Engineers Club of the Virginia Peninsula. During her junior year, she was awarded first place at the YCSD Science Fair, second place in the Tidewater Science Fair, and earned the NASA Earth System Science Award. Esther is talented and driven with an interest in biochemistry and the medical field. In her free time, she enjoys volunteering with her church, going on mission trips, and playing the flute. She is responsible, driven, and of strong character. We congratulate Esther on being selected as Tab High School's Senior of the Month.
And Ms. Geraltz, you have York High School.
Absolutely. I'm honored to recognize Swan Tran as the York High School Senior of the Month for January. York High School is pleased to announce Swan Tran as our January Senior of the Month. Swan is an amazing person and a hardworking student. She has excelled academically throughout her time at York High School and has done well in the International Baccalaureate program. Due to her academic success, she holds membership in Mu Alpha Theta, National Honor Society, Science National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, Thespian Honor Society, and National Society of High School Scholars. Swan has been involved in numerous extracurricular activities throughout her time at York High School. She's been a member of the Green Team, Red Cross Club, Key Club, Drama Club, International Club, Future Business Leaders of America, and Odyssey of the Mind. The arts have also been an important part of her high school career. She has participated in numerous plays and competed in a one-act competition. In 2018, Swan was nominated for Best Leading Actress at the Fall 2018 Regional One-Act Competition. She currently serves as historian of the Drama Club and Thespian Honor Society. She has also served as the stage manager for a YHS theater production. Swan is a compassionate student who cares about her community. Earlier this year, she made over 1,000 masks and donated them to frontline workers, first responders, children's hospitals, senior living facilities, educators, and neighbors. Swan, congratulations on being recognized as the January York High Senior of the Month.
Congratulations to all the seniors of the month. What great role models we have to look at in our community. Now, we do have one other award and recognition that is not on our agenda. Dr. Shandor, would you like to present some more information on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. So it is with great appreciation that I present this gavel and plaque to Mr. Richardson for serving as the board chair from January 2018 to December 2020. His support, dedication, advocacy, leadership, and oversight have been vital not to just our school division, but to me personally. Mr. Richardson, all of our cabinet and our executive team and everyone in the division, we appreciate all you've done for the last few years. I know our new board members that came on last January and had to sort of inherit the Grafton Complex fire as well as a pandemic, appreciate your steady leadership and support of them developing into their new roles. So I'm going to present you with this. Thank you very much, Mr. Richardson.
All I have to say is thank God all of us weren't new at the same time.
Yeah. I appreciate everything you've done, Jimmy, for all the support and leadership you've shown, and it's been extremely helpful to me, and I'm sure the other board members, to just be able to talk with you with all the experience you have and helping us lead us through what we have. And I'll continue to draw from your experience here as we move forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We will move on to our unfinished business. I don't believe we have any. Does anyone have any unfinished business for us tonight? Okay, we will move right along to our presentations. A reopening update. Dr. Shandor, I will let you share about this topic.
Thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. Dr. Carroll, our Chief Operations Officer, he has a presentation. He's going to cover a number of topics related to return to school and reopening. Dr. Carroll?
Thank you, Dr. Shandor. Chairman Higginbotham, members of the board, tonight I talked to you about the health metrics update. And first we'll start with an update on vaccinations. You'll remember that at last month, or the last meeting I was with you, that we talked about the fact that I was hoping to have a date for you to start, or a window of testing to start at either this meeting or the next meeting. I'd be able to give you that progress. I'm happy to say that we've already started, and we've been able to get some people vaccinated already. The staff at York County, with the county administrator, Mr. Morgan, leading the way, has really helped push our ability to get some inoculations started. And so he's helped put together a plan where we're working with local hospitals and CNU in the city of Newport News, and we've been able to get all of our nurses vaccines, and they were in the 1A group. And then we started to get some other employees last week to get theirs. To date, we have 300 of our employees that have received their vaccinations, their first dose, and we have another 300 scheduled for this week. So that'll bring us to a total of 600 by the end of the week, which represents about a quarter of our employees. And so that's a good start to getting on our way there. Second thing I wanted to share with you is we've received new state guidance. I alluded to this in the last meeting that we were expecting revisions to the VDH guidance that we've been in alignment with since last summer. And then you'll remember that we got a revision to that guidance in late October that started to emphasize more the internal metrics as a way to determine whether you were bringing students into school. This latest revision came to us on January 14th. It folds the VDH guidance and the phase guidance of Virginia schools into one document now, which that was always a little bit confusing. And so those are all together, and it further emphasizes, excuse me, a reliance on the internal metrics. And you know that we've talked about that in past meetings as a determining factor for returning students to in-person learning. I'll walk us tonight through the new format, although this doesn't affect us a lot because of the trajectory that we were already on. we continue in alignment, and the revision requires no change for us. However, we may change how we report out to the community. So there's 5 steps. It's important to note that this guidance is definitely designed more so for divisions that had yet to get into in-person learning. And we, of course, are already on that path. So here you'll see 5 steps to reopening. And as I briefly review each, you'll see that we are far along in this process and that the only factors inhibiting our full return are either our operational integrity, which can be compromised by either already unavailable staff or temporary closures from heightened community transmission and the resulting quarantines that come from that. So step 1 is your mitigation strategies, and we've talked about this in previous meetings, so no surprises here. We continue to have confidence in the effectiveness of our mitigation strategies. We continue to visit our schools and give feedback to administrators on opportunities for improvement, but I can truly say that all the schools are doing a wonderful job here in setting the right conditions and enforcing excellent compliance. I also would like to take the time here to thank and recognize the work of Cheryl Parr and Alicia Hutchison, who've led our work in our contact tracing. Other divisions have left that task up to the local health district, and while we work with them and we follow their guidelines, we find that having control of this process makes it extremely responsive in both thoroughness and timeliness. 3 factors affect step 2, which is the level of school impact. And the first is transmission within the school. Now, to date, we have had only 4 suspected transmissions in our buildings since the end of September, and we do have 1 possible outbreak now with 1 sport that's given us a little bit of difficulty to decipher, and we are working with Peninsula Health District to investigate that. But therefore, even with that, we still fit the low level of transmission descriptor. The second is student absenteeism. We are classifying high absenteeism as more than 10%, as that's the definition for chronic absenteeism in any other year. For the other threshold, we've selected 5%, and we are currently in low absenteeism. Finally, we clearly are not having normal staff capacity. The document does not give us any definition for the words, for the categories of strained or critical for medium and high. But clearly we have had strained ability to have all of our staff back since we started having students back in school. And we have definitely entered a critical stage here these last couple weeks, where last week alone we had a single day where only 69% of the substitute requests that we had were able to be filled. And 62 staff, teachers or paras 62 staff, period, were in some sort of isolation or quarantine, and that number is expected to grow. And that's on top of the fact that our schools range anywhere from 3 to 10% as far as staff's already being on an approved leave. So when we can't cover every class with a substitute, then that means somebody else in the building has to. And the bottom line is lack of coverage equals some sort of closure. Here we revisit some statistics that you've seen before. Step 3 is about community disease transmission. Now, we're currently in extremely high community transmission. Today's number was a new peak as far as the number of new cases per 100,000. We reached 743, and our report from last week on the larger peninsula put us at 805, so those were new peaks on both of those. Positivity for York County has been dropping since the 15th down to 14.43%, and the larger peninsula at 17.79. Now, as you can see, our quarantine levels on the left here, when you look at active quarantines, as of today, we are at 256. That's students and staff. We've taken the position that we will use short-term closures of classes, grade levels, and/or schools as needed. In fact, today we temporarily moved Bethel Manor to remote learning for at least this week, but it could possibly extend to next week. And that's due to the high number of staff that are in quarantine or isolation. And we have 4 other classrooms or cohorts or grade levels that are temporarily shifted to remote learning. Step 4 is about understanding your community capacity and needs. As we work down this slide, all of the vulnerable learners have long been in person in our schools. We've made every effort to meet the needs of students that need internet in their homes, and we've responded to every request that we are aware of. We've worked with all of our partner agencies for childcare. We have childcare in our schools for staff, and we've offered guidance to private childcare businesses. And as you know, we've complied with all applicable laws to make appropriate leaves available to the staff that qualify. Step 5 is a decision matrix on how to return to in-person learning. Because remember, this is a document kind of aimed at schools that have not done so yet. So finally, the state provides this matrix to illustrate and assist in that decision making. We find ourselves where we have been since just after the Thanksgiving break. We have the best rating for mitigation, but we also have the highest community transmission. So we have all of our priority learners, as it is in the top right-hand cell of this matrix. We have all of our priority learners in person and additional groups per our capacity. So I'll move on to a graphic that you've seen before that we keep expanding. So the transmission models that different organizations and universities have set for the direction of this disease in the state of Virginia are that we are going to continue, the peak of this third wave continues to slide. We're still looking at another month where community transmission could be at the same levels or higher. This puts us in a position where we aim to maintain our current in-person instruction by sustaining our internal mitigation success against the resulting isolations and quarantines from increased community transmission. While this isn't where we wanted to be by now, we have succeeded in getting 2/3 of the students who requested the flexible framework into the hybrid model. However, the division will now pause as we experience this higher level of transmission and the resulting complications. There is also good news in that New Horizons has just notified us that their CTE students will now be welcomed over for hybrid learning. And each of these students will be notified directly by their schools, and we will start transport shuttles as provided in the past, and that starts on February 1st. So in closing, we will continue to monitor the items that you see here on this slide and hope that conditions don't warrant moving backwards. We look forward to 2 things that will have a positive effect on our operational integrity. First is that this third wave starts to dissipate, and we hope that that happens sooner than the models predict. And then the second thing is make sure that we complete the administration of the second dosages when we get there for our staff. And those should reach maximum protection, hopefully in 7 to 8 weeks, given the lead time to get everybody in, the different lead times depending on Pfizer's 3 weeks, Moderna is 4 weeks, and then an additional 3 weeks to reach maximum protection. One or both of these conditions should dictate our ability or timing to resume additional grades back to in-person learning. That concludes my report, and I welcome your questions.
I'll always go first. Can you talk about where long-term subs are in our tiered system as far as staff members for vaccinations?
Long-term subs are active subs, I believe, and I'm going to turn to Ms. Goff. Where is she? Group B, correct? Second group?
Long-term subs were placed in with their grade level, so if they're at the elementary level, they were pulled in. If they're working long-term at an elementary school, they should be pulled in with those elementary classroom teachers. Active subs, daily subs, would come in just behind our full-time teachers at the middle school, so in Group B. So long-term should have been in some in Group A, some in Group B, and then the daily subs will come in Group B.
And then also, could you just talk a little bit, briefly about what our contact tracing process looks like? I think that would help people who are watching.
Certainly. So for contact tracing, first we get a notification that there is somebody with a positive test. And sometimes that's a doctor, sometimes it's the parent, sometimes it's a health district. And we start to, just like any other investigation you would have in a school on a, say, a disciplinary situation, you start to get the facts of that. You have to establish a timeline of either when was the positive test or when was the onset of symptoms. And then you back it up 48 hours before that, and whichever one is earlier. And then you start to talk to patient zero about where have they been, who might they have been in close contact with. And close contact is being within 6 foot for 15 or more minutes within a 24-hour period, and that's with or without a mask. And so that captures a lot of people, as you saw with our quarantine statistics. And so then there's notifications that go with that.
And those notifications are phone calls or emails or?
For the most part, no, phone calls. We make contact with people so that we're very clear on what they have to do, and they're given directions, like within a family. If there's a positive, we give them directions, and as close contact, we give them directions on what to look for.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Do we have a estimated idea of when all of the YCSD staff who wants the vaccination would have the first dose, or are we relying too much on the ability to get the vaccines in from the state or what?
That's all about supply, and it's a dynamic situation, but we've already sorted all of our people, and we are poised to, when they'll call us and we'll supply a number. In fact, last night, I had not heard of something we were doing today with Mary Immaculate. We got a call this morning, and Ms. Goff got 100 or 150? 100. Yeah, 100. And they were dispatched, and we got them out to Mary Immaculate to get shots. So, I even found out after the fact. It was already a done deal.
Okay.
So we're being as responsive as we can when we find out there are dosages out there, and working with those agencies. And York County's just been great. And we're just trying to be as responsive as we can, because if we show that our people will show up and get the shots, then they'll trust us for those situations when extra dosages are available.
Okay, thank you.
But as far as it's too hard to dictate or to predict right now, because we just don't know when they're going to come to us right now. But as you can see, we're already making good progress.
Okay.
And we moved into Group B, correct?
Yes, we are. We have 3 designations, A, B, and C. All of our A's from the first survey have been given their shots. We're now in B. And we're working through all of our yeses, then we'll offer our maybes, and then we'll definitely have to do some additional surveying to kind of clean up loose ends. For one of the situations we find is if somebody has been diagnosed in the last 3 months, or they had a vaccine for something else, like a shingles vaccine or something like that, then they have to wait. And so there are some situations where people can't get the shot right away.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I would just want to add a comment really quickly. I know Dr. Carroll mentioned earlier in his presentation, but we can't give enough thanks and credit to Mr. Morgan and the work that he's done, working through the weekends, working through holidays to advocate for not only the county staff and the people that live, the residents in the county, but the school system. He's done a wonderful job with that. He's working with a number of different hospitals, and as you can imagine, a number of municipalities that he's had to coordinate. I also want to recognize Dr. Carroll and Ms. Goff. They've done an amazing job, along with Dr. Vladu, over this weekend and on Monday during the holiday. Mr. Morgan called me early Monday morning on Martin Luther King Day and said, here's what we have. I sent a note, and we were on the phone in 10 minutes, and we organized, and I shouldn't say we, I didn't, but they did. Ms. Goff did a wonderful job of organizing this, and so we have to stay, so many hundreds of staff members ahead for contingency plans because we don't know when the batches come in, and when they do, we've got to be, ready at a moment's notice. So we certainly appreciate everyone's coordination and collaboration to get these things taken care of for our staff.
Thank you. Our next presentation is a Virginia Distinguished Purple Star School Award. Dr. Shandor, would you like to share some more information?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. So we're honored to recognize the efforts of Dare Elementary School for receiving the Purple Star Award from the Virginia Department of Education and the Virginia Council of the Interstate Compact on Educational Opportunity for Military Children. The Purple Star Award recognizes students, educators, and administrators for their work to create a supportive learning environment and to remove barriers to the academic success for children of military families. We're excited that Dare Elementary School is qualified for the award, and this evening, Dr. Susan Hutton, principal of Dare Elementary, and guidance counselor Ms. Tammy Witt are accepting the award on behalf of the school. So at this time, if we can clap our hands for Dr. Sutton. Thank you. Dr. Hutton.
Okay, next we're going to move on to our comments from citizens. We have two opportunities to speak this evening. The first is for general topics, and the second is specifically relating to the comments for the public forum on the fiscal year 22 operating budget. Before I open the public comments, I would like to share a few remarks. The school board provides a public comment period for the public to comment on topics germane to the business of the school board. The school board expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with others' views. We ask that speakers address the comments to the entire school board and not to one individual board member, the superintendent, staff member, or audience. Speakers will present their comments from the podium. Each speaker may speak for up to 3 minutes. A timer is visible to the speakers from the podium, and speakers should conclude their remarks when the red light comes on. The timer will begin after you state your name and address. When relating with the safety measures, we are practicing social distancing this evening and continue to implement the following safety measures. We are providing individual sign-up sheets and pens for each speaker. We are cleaning the podium area after each speaker, so there will be a slight delay between each speaker. And we ask that you speak loudly and clearly, as the safety shield and mask may muffle your voice. I now open up the public participation for comments and citizens. Our first speaker is Deb Wesley.
Good evening. I didn't expect to be first. My name is Deb Wesley. I reside at 902 Dare Road, Yorktown, Virginia. Oh, well, you can hold this one up. Good evening, Chairman Higginbotham, school board members, and Dr. Shandor. Each year, the York Education Association joins the National Education Association, the International Literacy Association, the National PTA, and many other groups to support and promote reading during Read Across America Month. This has become much more than a 1 month or a 1 day celebration. In the 23 years since the first celebration on March 2nd, 1998, this event has grown into a year-long motivational and awareness campaign for promoting reading. The Read Across America program seeks to foster a nation of diverse readers. To do this, books including diverse characters by diverse authors and illustrators need to be available to our students and our teachers. If you recall, last year, the YEA presented each of you with a diverse book for you to share with children in our schools. We hope you did have the opportunity. We understand if you didn't. But if not, now is a perfect time for you to pull that book out and share it with some of our students. The goals of Read Across America are consistent with Goal 4 in our YCSD strategic plan. Goal 4 addresses our school culture. We want to provide learning opportunities for our students that include and address diverse populations and cultures. As such, the YEA is proud to present each elementary school with 10 books that include diverse characters and cultures. While I would love to share each book with you tonight, time does not allow that. So I will take a moment to share just one of the books that the teachers at Grafton Bethel used this year. It's called Alma and How She Got Her Name. It's a wonderful book about a little girl whose father tells the story of how she got her name in each part of the book, and it's just a very heartwarming story. The Grafton Bethel teachers shared it with their students, and then the students were able to share how they got their names. It was wonderfully engaging discussions that followed and really provided the opportunity for acceptance and respect for everybody's diversity. So I would encourage all of our teachers to invite you all to come in virtually and read a book to our classes. And I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight and share our combined goals of acceptance and respect for our community. And the schools will have these books by the end of the week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Michelle Creelman. If you can come up, please state your name and address, and then the timer will start.
My name is Michelle Creelman. I live at 204 7 Hollies Drive in Yorktown. I want to start with my daughter is in 8th grade. She's taking civics right now, and she told me not to bother coming and speaking because it wouldn't make a difference anyway. So I'm hoping that you're going to help me prove her a liar. Being a member of the school board is a hard job. I know it is. My dad ran for and was a member of the school board in my hometown for 6 years. It was a long time ago. We still had one phone on the wall, and he had 2 teenagers. He was out the door early and back late. He chose to run in order to advocate for the students. I'm here to advocate for mine. My son started DARE as 2nd graders and graduated from York High last spring. It was not the senior year they expected, but it wasn't the year anyone expected. My daughter followed them starting as a kindergartner at DARE. She wants to graduate from York High School, preferably at the high school, not at William and Mary. York County has great teachers. Through classroom interaction, they have recognized the strengths and weaknesses of all of my children, and they're all very different. I understand, and one of them, we have great teachers. One of my kids got a 5 on his English paper for his AP class as a junior. He's a genius, clearly, but it also has to do with teachers promoting that particular skill of his. I understand that some of the York County school students are thriving from the virtual format, but mine is not. As such, as of next week, York County will be down another student. We were fortunate enough to get her into a private school. Not everyone can make this choice, and quite frankly, there aren't enough desks in private schools right now, even if everyone could. The governor has stated he wants kids in school. The president has stated he wants kids in school. We have some in school, but what about the rest? Again, mine is in 8th grade. You can get up if you're working from home and get in your car and go to the store. She can't. We have school sports continuing, but not classroom instruction. My kids are athletes, but all 3 know that education comes first. York County needs to trust but verify through testing that the parents are keeping their children safe and want their children to have a quality education, not the adequate education currently provided. We need to open the schools 5 days a week to all students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Carol Bauer.
Good evening, Carol Bauer. I reside at 314 Brook Lane. Good evening, Chairman. Congratulations on your new position, and members of the board. I'm here to talk to you about Black Lives Matters in School, the Week of Action. I taught Virginia history for 24 years, love Virginia history. I love talking about Thomas Jefferson and Declaration of Independence, George Mason, Virginia's Declaration of Rights, and it was great. I was very proud of all of that. Well, I realized after a trip to the African American Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., that really history is about perspective. And I found that African American history really is American history, and African American history really is Virginia history. Many of our black and brown students do not see themselves in our instruction and our instructional materials. When I look for instructional materials, I actually have to dig deeper to find materials that are representative and illustrate our minorities in different historical events and different situations. Virginia has a history of minimizing African American accomplishments. For a long time, we celebrated Lee, Jackson, King Day. Pretty ridiculous. I urge all of York County staff and the York County School Division to support the Black Lives Matters in schools, February 1st through 5th. But more than that, I ask that you commit to broadening your instructional materials to be more inclusive and equitable. You can start by using some of those Read Across America diverse books. I did share with Dr. Butler earlier about Black Lives Matters in School, a Week of Action kit, and a resolution that you can take up and support all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Crystal Gummo. If I pronounced your last name incorrect, I apologize. Okay.
Sorry, I used to be a math teacher, so I bring graphs. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. My name is Crystal Gummo. I reside at Oleander Court, Yorktown, Virginia. I'm the parent of a 16-year-old attending Tabb High School and a 5-year-old attending Tabb Elementary. And if you guys didn't hire such fantastic teachers, I probably wouldn't be here advocating. But I've been following the metrics from the Virginia Department of Health, the doctor shared earlier today. That just being in the red column, I don't think displays it clearly enough. I have a copy for each of you. We're not just in the red right now, where, well, that red line represents the highest risk category. We are 3.5 times that right now. I do not feel safe sending my kids to school right now. They are flourishing. I signed up for the flexible model because I believe in in-person education. I used to be an educator, but I gotta say, now is not the time. We need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem right now. We need to keep the kids home if we can, if the kids are able to flourish, which mine are. What I'm asking for is that the flexible model be a little bit more flexible. I don't want to be punished. I don't want my kids to be punished. I don't want to have to tell my 5-year-old, Miss Witcher, who he absolutely loves, that no, sorry, we have to switch you to a virtual school right now because we can't hold out just another month or two until the numbers come down to something more safe. So again, I'd like, the flexible model to be a little bit more flexible so that I can keep my kids home until these metrics come down and I can send them and they can get the teachers that they are enjoying all year. I don't want my kids to change teachers. I don't. Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is all the speakers we have for the general comments, unless I missed someone's card. Okay. I now close the public participation of comments from citizens, and I open up the public forum on the fiscal year 22 operating budget. We have one speaker for this, and that's Carol Bauer.
Before we bring the community members up, is it all right if we want to make some comments?
Yes, I'm sorry, Dr. Shander.
That's all right,
I
Mr.
skipped that.
Higginbotham, no problem. I'm going to ask Mr. Bowen if he'll please come to the podium and just share some information related to the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shandor, Mr. Higginbotham, members of the board. This evening's public forum is an opportunity for the public to come forward and provide their input on the FY22 budget process. This process began in September, and since that time, as we continued to work through the pandemic, Staff, we listened to staff, we listened to the community. We sorted through the governor's proposed budget. The General Assembly is working through their own amendments, and we sorted through some of what they've already proposed. And we've identified several challenges as we've worked to complete our budget. Just wanted to share a couple of those with you, to kind of reflect on the challenges that we have and will continue to have, I think, through the remainder of the year and into next year. First is student enrollment. And you've heard me talk many times this year about how many students we're down. We're down 870 students from what we budgeted to what now the Virginia Department of Education projects us to have as a final ADM for the year. What's critical to that is student enrollment determines our staffing. So how many students can we predict or project are going to come back next year, and then how do we set our staffing for next year? Because that is personnel and benefits is the largest piece of our budget. More than 85% of our budget is personnel and benefits. So that's challenge number one. Challenge number two is health insurance. We've been talking about health insurance for a number of years now, a couple of years now. This continues to be a problem for us. However, we've adopted a multi-year approach to solving this problem. We don't want to put all this on the school division in 1 year or on our employees, because we want to try to balance any cost increases with some compensation increases. And so just know that we're going to see some proposed increases coming forward, but this won't be the end of them. We'll continue to look and address the health insurance issue because it needs to be solved. The third issue I wanted to talk about tonight is the compensation that the governor has proposed. In his budget, he proposed a 2% bonus. There's legislation now to convert that to a raise. One of the challenges that we have whenever there's compensation proposed by the state is they provide funding only for SOQ funded positions. Well, most school divisions across the state have many positions above what the SOQ, the minimum standards, require. And that's how it is here in New York County. So the state funding that we see for this bonus is about $835,000. However, to provide everyone a bonus in its current form would be another $1.3 to $1.4 million. And so that's going to be a challenge for us. We know that when we had our meetings with the board members and we talked to the community, compensation was one of the top priorities. And so we're working through that issue. We know that's a priority. We had to pull compensation off the board for this year, a raise, but we were able to provide a one-time bonus, which will be paid this coming Friday. So those are just some of the issues that we're working through, and I just wanted to provide you that update as we enter the forum this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen.
I apologize, Dr. Shandor. I didn't mean to
Sorry.
skip you there. Okay. Now we'll call up Carol Bauer.
Good evening, Carol Bauer. I reside at 314 Brook Lane. Honored to be here to talk to you about the budget. Thank you, Mr. Bowen, for talking about what the governor has proposed. He has proposed a number of things, and I ask you to consider the compensation as you are for all staff members. Senator McClellan and Delegate Ard have introduced legislation to talk about fully funding some of the standards of quality positions, and that would be a big, huge help. Now, even if they don't, recognition of the fact that this year has provided savings in unusual places, but this year has also provided expenses in unusual places. This year is unlike other years. Budgeting is somewhat difficult, but I leave you with just a couple of things. York County's average teacher salary is below the state average. The state average is below the national average. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is the only card I have to speak on the fiscal year 22 operating budget. So I will close the public forum now. We are going to move on to matters by board members, and we will start with Ms. Gerals.
Awesome, thank you so much. I was actually able to visit all the schools in District 3 last week and just see how different everything looks, but really there's just a lot that's the same. Teachers are pivoting and changing the way they do things, and I just want to thank you all so much. Got to walk York High School's hallways and see some of the seniors that were in the building. It was eerie and strange, but it was really great to see the staff that were just so joyous to have human interaction with their kids. I think a couple of them joked and said, we're not seeing a circle with letters in it, we're seeing actual faces, so I know they were really happy. I got to go to Seaford Elementary School and help Mrs. Nagel do honor roll recognition. She had some staff members that were out. And when we went to one classroom, one of the kids said, wait, we're still doing this? So they still are craving those normal things. We just have to change it. So that was really great to be a part of that. I was also able to participate in the Special Education Advisory Council meeting. There's just a great group of people who are advocating for their kids and just really organizing themselves to just push forward and do great things. So I'm very grateful to be on that committee. And then just a shout out to our amazing principals who again are pivoting and changing and adjusting. I know that it's Virginia Principal Week this week, and our PTA leaders have asked me to say that some of them might wait till they're back in school. I know this isn't the national week, that's in May sometime, so they'll recognize you, but they're hoping that they can do that in person when you're back. Again, just thank you for everything you're doing, guys, and it was just great to be in the buildings and just see some of the things that are going on, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Geraltz. Next, we'll have Mr. Myatt.
Yeah, absolutely. In the process of scheduling school visits here within the next couple of weeks, and looking forward to being inside the building, observing students, and just as importantly, obviously staff and teachers. So I'm looking forward to that. One thing I have been able to do is, as a parent and a board member, observe sports at the Tab High School gym. And again, I want to commend, and my hat's off to the athletic director and his staff that are making this possible for our athletes and safety measures, again, for athletes and referees alike, as well as the limited family members that can attend. And I think probably most folks saw in the daily press and are aware that we've, is it Pixelot? Did I get that correct? That we're transitioning to the ability to stream these sporting events and other select high school events, again, via a subscription service. So that's another very important step, particularly in the longer term. Real quick, I was real pleased to learn that how quickly we're moving on the vaccine piece, but more importantly, and to piggyback on what Dr. Shandor said, I want to commend Dr. Carroll and his staff. Even our work group sessions, we mentioned how leaning forward and having folks identified and cohorts available when the vaccines became available would be pivotal. And Dr. Carroll was already leaning forward with his staff, and I think that's going to remain true throughout this. So I, again, commend you for that as we, again, move quickly on the vaccine piece and do the very best we can for our staff, administrators, and teachers. And that's it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Myatt. Next, we're going to have Mr. Schaefer.
Yes, thank you. First thing I'd like to say is I'd like to commend all the teachers that I've been in touch with in District 1. They're just super individuals. Our elementary schools have been back since September, and the teachers have just assimilated into being gurus of online working, I will tell you. Canvas is a unique thing with, I was talking to the teachers and talked to Laurel about it earlier, but it takes like 37 keystrokes for each item to be put in Canvas per activity, and there's 6 activities per child per day. I worked it out to a couple of thousand clicks that they have to do to be able to do it. And it's really kind of amazing to see what they've been able to accomplish. And the kids just love being back in the buildings, which is just awesome. And high schools have footsteps now, not just a few, but actually have some. So that's great. Not only that, but like Sean, I got to attend a girls' basketball game at Bruton. And even though we lost, it was great to see some school spirit. There was 25 people in attendance. That's what we could have. But Coach Honesty made sure that everything went well, and social distancing and contact tracing, if it was needed, was in place. It was really a good experience. But if you haven't seen it, last Friday was the MSAM Winter Expo. And it was a virtual, but it's still available on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and you want to see what the School of the Arts is doing for the MSAM program, I was truly amazed at just how talented those middle school students were. And some of the deep poetry, some of the deep stories that they went into, it was like they were wise beyond their years. It was very, very good. And I would tell everyone to go to YouTube and check it out. I mean, it was truly an experience. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Chairman Higginbotham. And I was able to see the MSAM through the Queens Lake. I did that Friday evening. That was our entertainment for the night, and it was great. It was very good. So next week I'll be assisting, or actually this week I'll be assisting with the vaccine distribution at CNU. I'm volunteered to help get some of our people through. I guess I'll be watching lines, monitoring a waiting area, or whatever the case may be there. But I just wanted to comment and thank our staff, our parents, and our students. Want to thank everyone for their continued patience and understanding during this pandemic. It appears, and I'm hopeful about this, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I hope there is. But thank you again for your continued support and patience. We're trying to make the right decisions and do what's right and safe for our students. So, but thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. I'd just like to add a few things to what we've heard tonight. We were all able to go to a few of the Senior of the Month visits today. We were unable to visit one of the Senior of the Month, but we're going to take care of that later this week. And it's always a great time to see them and to recognize them, and seeing their eyes really wide when they don't understand why they're being called out of their house by their parents or something like that. One of them didn't even have shoes on or anything today when we came out, but it's always a great experience. So it was nice to see that, and we look forward to the fourth one later this week. I also attended the Middle School Arts Magnet Winter Expo, and it was, just like everyone has said, it was fantastic. I think some of my favorite parts of that was towards the end when they were talking about the different topics and issues that they felt very passionate and deeply about. It was eye-opening to see those kind of thoughts from young men and women that age, and it just really struck me how connected they feel to some of those things. So it was really nice, wonderful to see. I'll be attending the GIAC meeting tomorrow evening virtually. I'm looking forward to that. And just very quickly, I want to give a shout out to the Coventry staff. I've had the opportunity to drop off and pick up my own kids at Coventry, and they have the pickup and drop off down to a science with getting people in and out safely and quickly. So Mr. Freeze and your staff, I just want to say that's an awesome job. And I'm sure that goes for all of the elementary schools too. So I just want to give another shout out to those Coventry and all elementary schools that have had those kids in and keeping them safe and getting them home safely. So thank you very much. But that's all we have for the board matters. So we're going to move right along to our financial matters. And Mr. Mike, can you discuss the financial matters at this time, please?
I do. I have the honors. And again, we have claims certified for payment for December 2020, and significant expenditures for the month of December include payments related to instruction, which totaled approximately $126,000 and included payment to New Horizons for special education tuition. Payments related to IT totaled nearly $287,000 and included a significant payment to JP Morgan Chase for approximately $256,000 for the semi-annual lease payment related to the one-to-one technology initiative. Payments for operations totaled a little over $60,000 and included a payment to Centennial Contractors, $49,000 to repair the HVAC unit at Mount Vernon Elementary and install doors at Grafton Bethel Elementary. Payments related to construction and maintenance projects totaled approximately $44,000. Payments related to administration totaled approximately $111,000 and included a payment to CHKD for the athletic trainer service. Food service payments totaled approximately $361,000 and include payments to Sodexo, $314,000 for food service operations, and Alto Hartley, a little over or nearly $47,000 for kitchen equipment at Grafton Bethel Elementary. Payments for transportation totaled $206,475 and included a significant payment to Kingmore Supply for 2 buses. And the following are considerations and financial reports for 2020 and operating budget and December revenues. State revenue for December 2020 is up by more than $1.7 million from December of 2019. The increase is based on the Department of Education's projected enrollment for the 2021 school year. And again, as Mr. Bowen reminded us, actual enrollment is about 870 students less than budgeted. However, the state will continue to fund school divisions on projected enrollment through the remainder of this year. For expenditures, instructional expenditures for December are up by more than $1 million when compared to December of 2019 or last year. The increase is due to the cost of maintaining virtual and hybrid instructional programs. However, expenditures for student transportation, operations, and maintenance are down by more than $900,000 when compared to December 2019. The decrease or the variance as a result of schools operating again in the virtual or hybrid model. Significant changes related to the food service budget, and again, revenues as well as expenditures. Local food service revenue through December is down more than $950,000 when compared to December 2019, since students are not being charged for meals for the 2021 school year. Again, however, federal revenue has increased about $1.14 million for the same period as a result of the USDA's decision to cover the cost of all meals. This trend will continue through June 30th of this year. We'll now consider approval of Resolution 21-02, authorizing specific procurement. This resolution requires the board's approval to authorize procurements of more than $50,000. And again, there are 4 items for consideration. Tyson Foods and Food Service Supplies, $200,000. The Five Ponds Press for middle school history and social science textbooks, $128,432. E-Plus to renew support for the Aruba wireless system, $102,000. And the, again, instructional technology, load balancing across the network and storage infrastructure, and that is $300,000. So, Mr. Chair, I move to approve financial matters as listed.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions from board members before we poll the board? Okay, Mrs. Ford?
Yes, a motion is made by Mr. Myatt and seconded by Mr. Richardson to approve financial matters as listed, and you may cast your votes. The motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to our consent calendar. And on our consent calendar, we have a number of items. We have all had an opportunity to look over it and ask Dr. Shandor and his staff any questions we may have. The items that we on the consent calendar we have are approval of personnel actions, the approval of donations in the amount of $2,859.62, approval of the program of studies updates, the approval of fiscal year 21 pay plan updates, approval of minutes for a joint meeting on December 1st, 2020, a special meeting on December 7th, 2020, and a regular meeting on December 14th, 2020. Would anyone like to make a motion and second to approve the consent calendar as listed?
Mr. Chairman, I move we can approve the consent calendar as you listed.
I'll second.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, Mrs. Ford?
Yes, a motion was made by Mr. Richardson and seconded by Mrs. Geralds to approve the consent calendar as listed, and you may cast your votes. The motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to action items, and we have a number of action items here. We will do one at a time. The first is approval of a proclamation for Principals Appreciation Week for January 25th through 29th, 2021. Dr. Shandor, would you like to share some comments?
Yes, just a few brief comments, Mr. Higginbotham. As you know, January 25th through the 29th is Principal Appreciation Week. It goes without saying how appreciative I am for our team of 19 principals and the outstanding work that they do. It's a difficult and challenging job under normal circumstances. I think we all know that. They've done an amazing job working with not only their school teams, but their collaboration with SBO staff in a number of different areas, whether it's human resources, operations, finances, or instruction. They've been a key component of making us better and do the best we can for our kids this year. So super proud of them, their diligent work, enthusiasm, perseverance, and their sense of duty to York County schools is not to be unnoticed. So we certainly recognize them. Thank you.
So now we just need a motion and a second to approve a proclamation for the Principals Appreciation Week of January 25th through 29, 2021.
And we approve the proclamation for Principals Appreciation Week, January 25th through 29th, 2021.
I'll second.
Mrs. Ford?
Principals Appreciation Week, and you may cast your votes. Motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, next, we will move on to a proclamation for Career and Technical Education Month for February of 2021. Dr. Shandor?
Thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. Career and Technical Education Month underscores the value of programs and classes in preparing our students for careers of today and for the future. We're thankful for our YCSD teachers, business community, and partner programs that provide high-quality instruction in this area. Thank you.
All right, we need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation for Career and Technical Education Month in February of 2021.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the proclamation for Career and Technical Education Month for February 2021.
I'll second.
Ms. Ford?
Yes, a motion was made by Mr. Myatt and seconded by Mrs. Geralds to approve the proclamation for Career and Technical Education Month. And you may cast your votes. The motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Next, we have a proclamation for National School Counseling Week, February 1st through 5th, 2021. Dr. Shandor?
Thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. The first week in February is traditionally designated as National School Counseling Week to focus attention on the many specialized contributions school counselors make to our schools. Comprehensive school counseling programs address students' academic and social welfare, provide much-needed resources for students, parents, teachers, and administrators, which ultimately support student achievement. We have an amazing team of school counselors in YCSD. We appreciate them for their many contributions they make to our school division. We currently have 24 secondary counselors and 13 elementary counselors, and they do a wonderful job. Thank you.
So we need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation for National School Counseling Week.
I move we approve the proclamation for National School Counseling Week, February 1st through 5th, 2021.
And I will second.
Mrs. Ford?
Yes, the motion was made by Mrs. Geralds and seconded by Mr. Schaefer to approve National School Counseling Week. You may cast your votes. The motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a proclamation for Read Across America Day, March 2nd, 2021. Dr. Shandor?
Thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. So March 2nd is Read Across America Day in celebration of Dr. Seuss's birthday, which promotes reading and adult involvement in education through the school division. We encourage staff members to either join virtually or try to go into the classes to read to our students as a way to recognize this important event to engage with our students.
Now we need a motion to approve and a second to approve the proclamation for Read Across America Day.
Mr. Chair, I would move that the York County School Board approve a proclamation for Read Across America Day, March 2nd, 2021.
I will second.
Okay, Mrs. Ford?
Yes, the motion was made by Mr. Richardson and seconded by Mr. Schaefer to approve Read Across America Day. You may cast your votes. The motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move along to Resolution 21-03, a resolution of the County School Board of York County, Virginia, to approve the Division Superintendent's Fiscal Year 2022 Capital Improvement Program. Dr. Shandor.
Thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. Board members, if you recall, we had one change at the last work session. Mr. Bowen shared a few weeks ago that we added $400,000 to the current year for FY21. If you recall, this was for the Seaford addition and the renovation project. That's going to help us jumpstart this project. And if you remember, these funds were from a one-time cell tower payment.
Okay. Are there any further questions from the board? Okay, we need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 21-03, a resolution of the County School Board of York County, Virginia, to approve the Division Superintendent's fiscal year 2022 capital improvements program.
I move that we approve Resolution 21-03, resolution of the County School Board of York County, Virginia, to approve the Division Superintendent's fiscal year 2022 capital improvement program.
And I second that motion.
Mrs. Ford?
Yes, a motion was made by Mrs. Geralds and seconded by Mr. Richardson to approve Resolution 2103. You may cast your votes. The motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. The next action item here is Resolution 21-04, a resolution requesting the Board of Supervisors to issue general obligation school bonds for school purposes and consenting to the issuance thereof. Dr. Shandor.
Thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. I'm going to have Mr. Bowen share just a brief information related to this.
Shandor, Mr. Higginbotham, members of the board. This is the first step for the school division obtaining financing for the school division's capital improvements program. With this resolution, the school board consents and authorizes the application to the Virginia Public School Authority for the purchase of bonds for the purchase of financing the school division's capital improvements program. And once approved, staff will forward this resolution to the county, formally requesting the Board of Supervisors to take action in issuance of the debt.
Are there any questions from the board? Okay, we just need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 21-04, a resolution requesting the Board of Supervisors to issue general obligation school bonds for school purposes and consenting to the issuance thereof.
Mr. Chair, I'd recommend the approval of Resolution 21-04.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Ford, Mr. Schaefer seconded.
Okay, thank you. A motion was made by Mr. Richardson and seconded by Mr. Schaefer to approve Resolution 2104, and you may cast your votes. The motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is all we have for the action items. We'll move on to policy. We don't have any new policy for discussion or any policy for the first reading. So we go to policy for the second reading, which is approval of the second reading of policy section K, communications. Dr. Shandor, can you please share some information?
There are no further changes to this policy.
Okay. We need a motion and a second to approve the second reading of policy section K on communications.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the second reading of the policy section K, communications.
I second.
A motion was made by Mr. Myatt and seconded by Mrs. Geralds to approve the second reading of policy section K, and you may cast your votes. The motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. We move to the approval of the second reading of policy GBA/JFHA, prohibition against harassment and retaliation. Dr. Shandor, do you have any information to add?
There are no further changes to this policy as well.
Okay, so we need a motion and a second to approve the second reading of policy GBA/JFHA, prohibition against harassment and retaliation.
I move for approval of second reading of policy GBA/JFHA.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Ford?
Yes, a motion was made by Mrs. Geralds and seconded by Mr. Schaefer to approve the second reading of the policy GBA/JFHA, and you may cast your votes. The policy passed 5-0. Thank you.
Next, we have the approval of expedited second reading of policy IKF. Dr. Shandor?
There's no changes to this policy as well.
Okay, we just need a motion and a second to approve the expedited second reading of policy IKF.
I move to approve the expedited second reading of policy IKFA.
I second that motion.
Mrs.
Or
Ford?
IKF, I'm sorry, yeah, IKF.
KF.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, a motion was made by Mr. Schaefer and seconded by Mr. Richardson to approve the second reading of policy IKF, and you may cast your votes. The motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
And lastly, for second reading under the policy, we have the expedited second reading of IKFA. Dr. Shandor?
No changes to this policy as well. Thank you.
Okay, so we just need a motion and a second to approve the expedited second reading of policy IKFA.
I move for approval of the expedited second reading of policy IKFA.
And I'll second.
Okay, Mrs. Ford?
Was that Mr. Myatt?
Yes.
Okay. A motion was made by Mrs. Geralds and seconded by Mr. Myatt to approve the second reading of policy IKFA. And you may cast your votes. The motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to the report of the superintendent, Dr. Shandor.
Thank you, Mr. Higginbotham. Just really quickly this evening, wanted to reiterate my appreciation for Ms. Cheryl Parr, who's in the back of the room, as well as Alicia Hutchison. As Dr. Carroll mentioned earlier, they have done a heavy lift as far as contact tracing, and these ladies have worked around the clock for months and weekends and holidays and everything else you can think of. So can't say enough about the two of them and the work they've done in communicating with our principals and all of our staff members and working with the Virginia Health Department, the Peninsula Health District, a number of different agencies to give guidance to all of our staff members. So can't say enough about the work you've done, Ms. Parr and Ms. Hutchinson. Next, I said this earlier, but I really want our community to understand how lucky and fortunate we are that Mr. Morgan is our county administrator. He has done an amazing job advocating for the citizens in York County. He's done an amazing job advocating for the staff that work at the county as well as those at the school system. It was just a few short weeks ago that there was no plan. He was just a major player on the peninsula to get this thing moving. Can't say enough about our appreciation for him and his coordination and with his staff members who are working closely with Ms. Goff. And again, I mentioned earlier, Dr. Carroll, Dr. Vladu, and Ms. Goff's work in organizing and developing a process in 30 minutes or so. So they've had to identify all the staff members, go through the survey results, to go through who was a yes, no, and maybe, and put them in priority order, establish the criteria, and then work with all of these agencies to get our folks vaccinated. So can't say enough about the work that they've done. And in closing, again, I'll end with our principals. I can't say enough about how just how blessed we are to have 19 leaders in our schools who care so much about their students, their staff members, and Ms. Geralds, we walked four schools the other day, and you got to see a great example of all of our principals in those 4 visits. Between the high school principal who was on a video call working through grading situations, the elementary principal who was covering a PE class because she had 5 subs not covered that day, and the amazing work that we saw with her. We walked to middle school and got to see the work that was going on there, as well as YRA, and then we got to go to another elementary school where we caught both administrators observing instruction and giving feedback to teachers, which is fantastic, which is obviously what they're supposed to do. But what we saw there with the classroom facilitator role and how that worked for, I believe it was 5th grade. We were in a 5th grade class and got to see a classroom facilitator with a teacher teaching virtually from home. It was fantastic. The engagement from the students was outstanding. Again, I'll make a plea to our community. If you can come in 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, we would love to have you go through our processes with Dr. Vladu so that we can have some classroom facilitators come in, because we saw a great example of how it could work. So just want to commend our principals for all the work they've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shandor. We're now in need of a closed session to discuss a personnel matter. So if we could have a board member make a motion to take us into closed session, please.
Mr. Chair, I move the York County School Board convene in closed session to discuss some personnel matters relating to specific employees pursuant to the personnel exemption section 2.2-3711A1 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act.
Do we have a second? Okay. Mrs. Ford?
Yes, a motion was made by Mr. Richardson and seconded by Mrs. Geralds for the board to go into closed session, and you may cast your votes. And the motion passed 5-0. Thank you. The board is now in closed session.
We will be back for our work session on Monday, February 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Please enjoy your last week of January. This meeting is now adjourned.
Okay, now you-